everybody, how's it going? Don the SAAB medic checking in. Today we're going to be working with Workshop Information System, which is the SAAB factory manual for working on these particular cars. This covers all the way down to 1994 in the 900 series and then all the way up to 2011 in the 93 and I believe 94X as well. So when you open up the program for the first time, you're going to have to hit OK here, and then we're going to select our model. For today's example, we're going to use a 9.3 with a 9440 chassis code, and we're going to use a 2003 model just like I happen to drive. So when you open this up here, I'm going to get into more depth in this in another video, but for today's purpose, we're going to learn how to do fault code tracing through WIS. So if you have a Tech 2 or a more advanced code reader that can pull these P codes or even your B codes for your body control module, you can go into fault code search up here, which is the P101 icon, and then you'll select your ECM. Now what's nice is this has every possible module that your car could be equipped with, from automatic climate control, automatic headlight leveling, your AMP1, AMP2, BCM. But for today's idea here, we're going to go to the T8 ECU, which is the B207 engine control module. We're going to select T8. For simplicity, I'm going to use a P0300 code, which is a random multiple misfire. Very common code on these cars when your ignition coils or your spark plugs start to go. We're going to hit add once we select that particular code. Now you will notice there are two numbers after the P0300 code. When you're using a more advanced code reader, you will find that some of these codes actually have a 2-digit code after them. In this case, these codes are pretty generic across all makes and models, and it doesn't have that. So once you select that code, you're going to hit add. You can also go through and you can add other codes, say like a cylinder 1 misfire, and say we're having a misfire on cylinder 3. The bright side is the P0300 code, we're not going to open all three of these. It will cover pretty much your diagnostics for these other two codes here. So after we select the codes that we want, we're going to hit search. And that's going to bring up the fault code search. If you click on a particular fault code, it gives you a symptom description here. If you guys want to read that, you're more than welcome to. Hit pause. I'm not going to read through that just to save us a little bit of time here. But what you're going to do is select the particular code that you want to diagnose. In this case, we're going to do the P0300 and hit open. And then I'm going to close this dialog box because we don't need it anymore. Once you click that, it's going to bring up this kind of screen right here. It looks like I might have accidentally selected P0301 accidentally, but we'll go with it. It shows you here what cylinder is what in the picture, and then this list here shows cylinder 1 misfire detected, which is the code that we selected. And it gives us fault symptoms, type of diagnosis, the enable criteria, which is what the car has to see in order to set this code. But then you'll see here this little image. It's actually like a little GIF that's showing the mouse pointing to this little squiggly line here. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate up to the top left corner and we're going to hit fault trace mode. Here it's going to ask us to see whether any of the following diagnostic trouble codes have been recorded. And this is going to kind of start our diagnostic path. We're just going to say no, that none of these codes are set at this time, and we're going to answer that question down here at the bottom in the right left-hand side. I almost said right, forgive me, it's 1:30 in the morning right now. First, it's asking you the correct spark plugs fitted with the correct electrode gap. Check the spark plugs for carbon and deposits. Is the spark plug damaged? Check condition of the ignition coil. Inspect the ignition and coil insulation with respect to flashover risk. Is everything okay? We're going to say everything looks okay here. Our spark plugs look good. Our ignition coils don't look too beat up. And we're going to hit yes. So next, it's going to ask us to unplug the connector. Here we see ignition coil cylinder 1, so we're going to pull that out. We're going to turn the ignition switch to the on position to power up the car. And then these diagnostics want you to connect a test lamp. If you're not too familiar with how to use a multimeter, then I would recommend using the test lamp as it's requesting. So what it's asking you to do is read pin 1 versus a good grounding point. If we scroll down here further, It's asking you to move the wiring harness at several spots and in several directions to reveal intermittent breaks and short circuits. Check switches, connectors, and crimp connections for oxidation, retracted pins, and pin clamping force. The test lamp should light if everything is good here. So at the bottom it's asking, is the function correct? We are going to go ahead and say yes. Next, it's going to have you connect that test lamp across pin 1 and pin 2, and then move the wiring harness in several spots again to see if there's any other issues. The test lamp should light. Here again, you're going to answer the question yes or no. And depending upon how you answer these questions, it's going to take you down a different diagnostic path. So right now, what I'm telling this program is that everything seems okay at the connector. We're getting good signal from the ECU. We're getting good power. Now it wants us to check that a spark is received from the ignition coil. Use ground cable part number for the check. For this type of diagnostic, you could simply hold the spark plug and the coil to some metal in the engine without touching the metal. If you don't know how to do this, please, I suggest you don't try it. Seek professional help if you need it. But what I want you to do is activate ignition coil cylinder 1 using a Tech 2. Compare the spark quality with other cylinder sparks. We're going to go ahead and say right now that we have insufficient spark. Now it wants us to test fit a new spark plug and perform the check again. Compare the spark quality with the other cylinder sparks. Here we have either spark is okay or spark is still insufficient. I'm going to say that the spark is still insufficient. We're going to set it up for a bad coil here, which next thing it says is change component ignition coil cylinder 1. If you would have selected that the spark was, sufficient, then it would have said that the spark plug was the problem and the problem was remedied. So here we're going to do final check and hit OK. It's going to tell you to reset misfire and knock counters, take a current reading with the diagnostic tool. It's wanting you to look at cylinders 1 through 4 misfire counters, drive the car at varying engine loads and engine RPM for 5 minutes. So go out, take your car, raise hell, praise Dale, do whatever you want. Check the misfire counter. A few misfires in this load and engine speed range can be accepted, or any of the counters incrementing continuously, meaning is it still heavily misfiring on one cylinder versus another or all cylinders. We're going to go ahead and say no, and then it's going to tell us the steps taken to rectify the fault were correct. Check the diagnostic clear the diagnostic trouble codes in all systems. From there, your fault diagnosis is complete. There's a lot of different things that you can test out through that fault code tracing to figure out what's wrong with your car. This program knows every code. For those guys that have dead ECUs out there, there is a code specifically for a dead ECU. When you punch that code into this, and I wish I could remember it right now, but I can't, it will literally tell you right away, replace the Trionic 8 unit because it is faulty. With that being said, guys, I hope to bring you guys more videos on how to use Workshop Information System. If I didn't say it before, I'm going to throw a link down in the description to this video of where you can download WIS and also the electronic parts catalog. So when you're scrounging for that part number and you can't find it on SAAB parts or Euro parts, that you can go to the EPC and Google the part number to find it. With later videos, I hope to show you guys more about different disassembly and reassembly of components within these cars. This software will tell all of it to you. With that being said, guys, it's late. I'm going to turn in for the night. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, share, subscribe, because I'm definitely going to be bringing you more content. Have a great night and be safe out there.